discuss and reimagine popular movie lists objectively. We're your hosts. I'm Jerry.
And I'm Brad. And on this episode, we're going to be exploring number 78 from AFI's 100 Years, 100 Passions, the 100 Greatest Love Stories of All Time.
Okay, and with number 78, we have Coming Home, directed by Hal Ashby, starring Jane Fonda, Jon Voight, and Bruce Dern. It was released in 1978.
So, the synopsis for this romantic war drama is as follows. In 1968 California, loyal conservative military wife Sally, played by Jane Fonda, is married to Marine Captain Bob, played by Bruce Dern. Bob is deployed, which he sees as a career opportunity. At first, Sally dreads being alone, but soon feels liberated. Forced to find off-base housing, she moves into a beachside apartment and buys a sports car. With nothing else to do, she decides to volunteer at the VA after being inspired by her bohemian friend V, whose brother is being treated for serious emotional problems stemming from his Vietnam tour. Sally meets Luke, played by Jon Voight, a former high school classmate who has returned from Vietnam with wounds that have left him a paraplegic. He is filled with anger, pain, and frustration and is decidedly anti-war. He softens over time as his friendship with Sally grows. He is released and begins to rebuild his life, all while his relationship with Sally deepens. She, too, is transformed by him. They eventually fall in love. Meanwhile, V's brother, Billy, unable to cope with his issues, commits suicide. In response, Luke chains himself to the gates of a local recruitment center in a vain attempt to prevent others from enlisting. Sally and Luke eventually make love, confronting his handicap, and she experiences her first orgasm. They both know the relationship will need to end when Bob returns. He returns with a self-inflicted gunshot wound he claims was accidental. Bob is changed, suffering from PTSD. Bob learns of the affair from military intelligence, who have been spying on Luke after the gate incident. He tells Luke he knows and that he is being spied on, and that Sally will make up her choice on who she wants to be with. Sally and Luke talk, and both decide she should patch things up with Bob. Bob and Sally fight over the affair, and Luke shows up to disarm the situation literally and figuratively. The film ends with Luke speaking to youths about his experience, interspersed with Bob disrobing and neatly folding his uniform and removing his wedding ring before swimming naked into the ocean, presumably to kill himself.
Okay, so first of all, I had never even heard of this movie before looking at this list.
I had heard of this movie. I had seen it once a really, really long time ago. The fact that no one talks about this movie is really baffling.
Why is nobody talking about this movie?
So, one, this movie was nominated for the Academy Award. Two, Jane Fonda and Jon Voight both won for this movie. They were both nominated and won for this movie.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, I had to let you when I was going through I'm like, wow. This movie, you can't find it on streaming. So, just right off the bat, I had to do some searching to find a low-cost way to find this. I eventually found a used DVD, which wasn't much more than renting a video on Amazon. So I went ahead and bought it. It was like $6 versus, like $2.99 or $3.99, like most rentals are. But you know what? Now we have, another movie in our library, which is really, really good.
This movie is phenomenal. It is so good. It's dealing with things that are still being dealt with to this day. Maybe not through Vietnam War, but that.
This movie could have been written in the early 90s dealing with the first Gulf War.
Yeah.
This movie could be written in the early 2000s dealing with Afghanistan. It could be written now with soldiers still dealing with what's going on over in the Middle East. Everything about this movie is timely.
Mm-hmm.
It's just, the only thing that might change a little bit is I feel like the Bob character would have to change a little bit.
Yeah.
Because I think we've been through enough at this point that no one is naive enough to think, oh, if I get deployed, it's going to help my career.
Mm-hmm.
I think he would kind of understand that I'm going into there's just so much information about it now.
Yeah, that's true.
He would go into the situation with a different lens.
Mm-hmm.
He would go in expecting, things to not be as great as he thinks they're going to be. I think he thought, the American military is so much stronger than,
Well, I think a lot
Vietnam.
of people had that aspect.
It was an eye-opening, experience for a lot of Americans.
What I was really appreciative, they don't show a lot of love stories with someone who is paraplegic and, not.
Yeah.
It's
a focal point of that. So this is one of the first movies I think that we've done that was written by a woman, and it very, very clearly shows. So one of the ways that I can usually tell, even if I don't know who wrote the movie, and I'll go back and look, is female writers and male writers, especially on film, write love scenes very differently.
Mm-hmm.
So male writers write very physical love scenes. Female writers write very emotional love scenes.
Right.
There's obviously, a physical aspect to it. The mechanics of the sex are there, but the focus really is on the fact that these two people who have fallen in love and have decided, you know what, your disability it's not important here.
Doesn't matter.
It doesn't really matter. And the other shot where, she's been married to Bob for who knows how many years now at this point, probably, probably close to 10 years. I'm guessing it feels like she married this guy like right out of high school. He's a little bit older than her. Like, this was like, she hooked up with this guy at 18 and she got married, and really this has probably been the only guy she's been with, and she doesn't know any differently, and she just experiences something else with Luke.
How it should be,
yeah.
Right? And they have great chemistry together.
Which is, it's kind of surprising because, like, in real life, these two people, the real people couldn't be further apart on the political spectrum.
Right.
So you've got Jane Fonda, who has always been a very, very left-leaning person. I mean, she was very anti-war in the 70s, and, she got a reputation for that, from a lot of people. And then you've got on the other end of the spectrum, I don't know necessarily back in the 70s if he was like this, but, now he's, a huge, right-wing, Trumper type. So they couldn't be farther apart on the political spectrum, but sometimes that kind of works, especially on screen.
Mm-hmm.
And their chemistry is off the charts. One thing, you can dislike his politics, which I absolutely do, but he is a fantastic actor.
Yeah.
So for the younger audience who don't know, he's Angelina Jolie's father as well. So yeah.
So I feel like this movie dove into things that are very current and people aren't talking about them. Mm-hmm. I was really not in shock, but surprised that they went deep into this hospital, the VA. Wow.
They spent a lot of time.
They spent a lot of time at VA. People who are struggling with different disabilities and mental disabilities, and they really brought that to light. Like these men who've been to war and now are dealing with the after effects in this freaking hospital and maybe not even have any visitors. It's just really, really sad. And then you get the other aspect of her husband who's there.
Right.
And comes back and basically shoots himself to get out of the situation. Right? Whereas people at the time looked down on Vietnam vets, right? So they were like, oh, look at those guys in the hospital. They're, saying all kinds of stuff. But then see him as a hero because he came back, but he was basically the coward.
Yeah, it was a really, really weird time. So, you still have an anti-war sentiment. I am anti-war. What I'm not is anti-soldier. Like, those people, they go over there, they're doing a job, they signed up, they're, whether for whatever reasons, they truly believe that they are protecting our country, and in most cases they probably are.
Mm-hmm.
But you can't pick where you get deployed.
Mm-mm.
You don't get to pick where you're deployed. So to lash out at the soldiers returning rather than the politicians who sent them there.
Well, also
that's always like a really strange thing when I look back on that era of people that were just, they were so just, I can't even imagine those poor soldiers after experiencing everything that they experienced there. War is hell. If you've ever known anyone who's been in combat, none of them are ever the same.
Right.
So not only do they come back to a pretty ungrateful nation.
Well, and also the Vietnam War was the first war that was televised.
Yes.
So people were seeing what was
Right.
happening over there,
Yeah.
and they couldn't
Very true.
think about, like, it wasn't because these guys went over there and wanted to do these things.
Yeah.
They were told they had to,
Right.
so
Yeah.
it was a difficult time, and this movie really captures the time and what it's like for the people at home
Yeah.
while they're gone, and the struggles they go through, and
you could remake this movie
for sure.
today,
For
and
sure.
you with the same themes, and it would still work. It was really, like, I can't remember when I saw this movie, how long ago. I don't think I definitely didn't appreciate how good
I
it
had
was.
never even heard of this movie before this list. I hadn't.
Really a truly excellent
And
film.
it's like, shame on me, because it was a very good, very powerful. The chemistry between all the actors was superb.
Yeah.
The only thing I found was, like, her friend was kind of annoying.
A little bit.
But other than that, it was a great
Really good performance by Keith Carradine, who plays her brother. He's the one that
Yes.
commits suicide. You've seen him in Revenge of the Nerds just a few years later.
Yeah.
And you see him in this, and you're like, wow.
Wow, he could have been something.
Another, long-standing acting family, the Carradines.
Yeah.
But again, really, really good movie. This is for me the first pleasant surprise, where I'm like, wow, this is really good,
It's very good. It really deserves to be on this list.
and really deserves to be way higher on this list
Yeah.
than it is.
Yes.
So I gave it a 74. Jerry gave it an 82. So the list score is 78, which is quite high.
Yeah, that's high for us.
For our rating system.
Yeah.
So I think that's all we have to say about this one. Again, excellent movie. Glad we watched it.
Hey, and if you know us and you would like to watch it, we would totally let you borrow our DVD so you could check it out. Yeah, so like and subscribe. Let us know. Maybe you've seen this movie. Maybe you have some opinions about it. Please comment. We'd love to hear from you. I guess that's it.
Yeah, until next time, I'm Brad.
And I'm Jerry.
And we're rating the list.
Bye.
Bye.